Afternoon. Really excited to have everybody here today. It's a big day for this organization on behalf of the family. We are thrilled that Phil Dawson wanted to come back and retire as a Cleveland Brown. It says a lot about him and what this organization and the great fan base means to him and what he means to us. Phil represents everything we look for in a player on and off the field. Professionalism, consistency, hardworking, a pillar in the community, and truly a great family man. Phil is here today with his wife Shannon, his kids Sophie Ann, Drew, and Bo. From 1999 to 2013, there was one constant with the Cleveland Browns, Phil Dawson. He was the longest tenured member of this team, and you always know Phil will be out there drilling field goals for the Cleveland Browns. His name isn't just in the Browns record books. He ranks among the NFL's all-time players in field goals made, points scored, and field goal percentage, among several other categories. He had a long and successful career here, and hopefully, with the ceremonies going down in Canton, one day we'll all be down there presenting him with a gold jacket. It's a great honor for me and this family and this organization to introduce a man who will forever be a Cleveland Brown, Phil Dawson.
Somebody say something funny. It's a little quiet in here. Forgive me if I don't look down at my notes a fair amount today, given the significance of this, and I want to try to get through it in a reasonable way. It's good to be home. There hadn't been many days over the last 6 years since I left that I didn't think about coming back to Cleveland. And to have the opportunity to do it today is not only special for me, but my entire family as well. I'm humbled that the Browns organization would take time to make this happen. They've been first class, extremely accommodating to every request, have gone above and beyond anything we could have imagined. Kind of a busy time of year, right? And for them to take time out to make this happen is very humbling. The connection that I had and still have to the city of Cleveland is my most cherished accomplishment of my career. I thought I had an understanding of what that was about when I left here, but having the opportunity to play for two other organizations, I'm very fortunate to have had the opportunity to play in San Francisco and Arizona, but those experiences only confirmed in my mind what a special place this is and how special it was that I had the connection with the fans the way I did. I'm sure I'm going to get asked many questions, but I'm going to go ahead and answer one right now. The question is going to be, what is the highlight of your career? And my answer to that would be today, this right here. Having the opportunity to come back home and celebrate our time together with the fans of Cleveland and the Browns organization. There's no greater sports town in America than Cleveland. There are no greater fans in football anywhere. And like I said when I was here, and I now still believe it to be true, there will be no greater place on the planet to be when the Lombardi Trophy goes down Euclid Avenue, and you can bet your last dollar I will be there to celebrate with everyone. My family is here with me today. We have a motto we talk about in our family. We call it the 3 F's, and it's faith, family, and football. And the goal is to try to keep them in that order. I haven't always been able to do that, but I have always at least tried to do so. So you may ask yourself, what in the world does faith have to do with all this, me sitting up here right now? Let me give you a few examples. When you expect to be drafted, but are not. When you expect to win a job in your first training camp in Oakland, but do not. When you finally win a job like I did here in '99 and the reception you get is, we're going to start out with you. When you find yourself looking at the weather forecast over 20 times a day all week in preparation for a game down at the stadium, all the while knowing everyone expects you to make every kick. And I got to tell you a little side note on that real quick. My first training camp here, I was summoned over to the tent, and Mr. Groza wanted to speak with me. and I could not believe I was getting a chance to speak with Mr. Groza. And he said some very nice things, and I finally got nerve up to ask a question. I said, "What do I do in the stadium?" He goes, "You know those flags on the uprights?" I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "They tell you which way the wind's blowing." This is going to make headlines. Mr. Groza was wrong, because I can't tell you how many times I looked at those uprights, and one flag was pointing that way and one flag was pointing that way. So not every day you get to correct a Hall of Famer. Back to my list. When you take the field at Heinz Field for a game winner and come up short and feel like you let the entire city down. When the very next week you go to Baltimore to try another long game winner, you see the ball bounce all over creation and you see the referees signal no good, only then to reverse their call later. When you trot out onto the field in a blizzard for a 49-yard field goal attempt. When you put together a Pro Bowl season in your contract year, only then to leave the only team you've ever known. When you have to start completely over at 38 and 42 years of age in this league. When stuff like this happens, you need faith. Faith in a trustworthy God who's in control. Faith that brings perspective instead fastness so that you can continue to fight the good fight, even in the face of extreme adversity. The second F is my family. Ooh. Don't have words. You know, the public got to see me on game day when I was physically primed for a game. Everything I'd done all week was to be ready to go on game day. The public got to see me in interviews or hear things I said in the paper, and those were very calculated, thoughtful answers. You know, what my family got to see wasn't always the same thing. They got to see the struggle trying to get ready for game day. They got to hear around the dinner table some of the frustrations and disappointments that I wouldn't dare share with the public. And yet they remain by my side through it all. It all starts with my beautiful wife, Shannon. Rain, sun, hot, cold, sleet, or snow, she was there. Good game, bad game, win or loss, made kicks or missed kicks, she was there. And after 20 years of marriage where the attention has mostly been on my skill set rather than hers, she's still here. You know, we'd pull up to the stadium, and she always had a random bag with her, and I didn't know what she was doing. And on the way in, whether it was a restroom attendant or someone that worked in the concession stand by her section, whoever, the valet attendant, she always had a gift or a kind word. And I can remember our last game, or what we thought might be my last game as a Brown. We were leaving the stadium. And I think more people stopped Shannon on the way out to hug her neck than they did mine. No woman I know is as beautiful, capable, selfless, and deserving of recognition as my wife. 3 kids, they kind of look different than they did 6 years ago, don't they? I'm going to start with Sophie Ann. Beautiful little daughter. I think you all know where she got it, not me. But she sings like an angel, just like her mama. She's a great athlete in her own right, but she is an absolute joy to be her dad. And then my 2 knuckleheads over there, Drew and Bo. Y'all have seen them grow up around here. And to see them now and the fine young men they are making good choices. By the way, heck of football players. Their team went 12-1 last year, and their only loss was the state champion. One of the highlights of my life was watching my boys play this past year. I couldn't say enough about them. I love both of you. No dad has ever been more proud of his kids than I have. I hope I made you proud. It's now your turn to write your story and to chase your dreams. My parents, Robert and Judy Dawson, sacrificed a lot back in the day. They were there from literally my first kick My brother, Peter Dawson, was my first ball shagger. Younger brother had to go out there and shag all day long. Some of my greatest memories were of the whole family going out with a bag of balls after practice was over, because back then I was a real player and couldn't kick during practice, had to stay afterwards, and my family would come up and make that possible. My other brother, Matt Austin, my brother from another mother, best friend growing up, he was my first holder, and the bond we had not only remains true to this day, but only gets better. My wife's parents, Ken and Billy Shepard, their counsel and love and support through all these years off the field has been absolutely vital. And finally, the third, football. As long as I can remember, I wanted to play this game. I was thinking about it walking over here. This will be the first year since 1986 I haven't played football. Kicking chose me as I got down the road in football. Never really wanted to do it, but once it became obvious that was my future, I chose to approach the game with the same intensity and passion as any other position player. And I can remember being in San Francisco after a year or two. Pat Willis, the all-pro linebacker, probably going to be a Hall of Famer, he had a quote one day that really made me realize that I had done that. And he had said, "This new kicker we got is the hardest working guy I've ever seen." And that meant a great deal to me, coming from Pat Willis. The game has given me so much. Countless lessons learned about life, such as never giving up. Little things do matter. In any success you ever have, you never do it alone. The good habits formed of hard work, self-discipline, and preparing daily have been a benefit of this great game. The treasured relationships. Players like Chris Gardocki, Dave Zastudil, Ryan Pontbriand, Reggie Hodges, Josh Cribbs, Joe Thomas, Bubba Ventrone, Simon Frazier, Kelly Holcomb, Trent Dilfer, Courtney Brown, Steve Hayden, Doug Peterson, Ben Watson, and DeQuell Jackson. And there's many, many more. Coaches like my first ones at Lake Highlands High School in Dallas, Texas, Jim Ledford and Mike Zafuto, still the best coaches I ever had to this day. The guy that recruited me to the greatest university in America, the University of Texas, Randy Rogers. My second special teams coach here, who became more like a dad, Jerry Rosberg, best special teams coach in the league. Butch Davis, Romeo Cornell, Eric Mangini, Pat Shermer, Chris Tabor, Brad Seeley, Tracy Smith, and then in my post-Browns days, Jim Harbaugh, Chip Kelly, and a guy y'all may remember, Buddy Morris. Incredible strength coach. My trusted agent and friend, Neil Cornrich, whose counsel has been absolutely spot on from the day I met him. My guys in the equipment room in the back, Brad, Jeff, Jimmy, and Miss Becky. I spent more time back there than I did a meeting room, as you guys, it doesn't come as any big surprise. I love those guys. The grounds crew, Chris Powell, I used to wear his phone out night before game. Tell me how the field is. What height did you mow the grass? Are we tarping it tonight? What's your weather forecast showing? He was an asset I needed. Team chaplains have always played a huge role in my experience. My first one being Reagan Lambert at the University of Texas. His counsel simply changed my life. Tom Petersburg here in Cleveland was a man of faith that I relied upon heavily, and I love him dearly. And in my years in San Francisco, Pastor Earl was incredible to not only me, but my children as well. The Cleveland media, y'all haven't aged a bit. Y'all were fair, and you did a tremendous job, and I've missed y'all dearly in my days since I left. I had a group of people that helped me stay on top of things. Dr. Heather Gornick from the Cleveland Clinic. About 10 years ago, I found out that I get blood clots too easily. And the first doctor I saw said, "You need to be done playing." And Dr. Gornick thought outside the box, came up with a protocol that would allow me to still play, that would require 2 injections every day. And for her to do that, she literally saved my career. Chris Poling was my masseuse here in Cleveland and actually came to San Fran and Arizona to continue to put me together so I could go out there Sunday after Sunday and do my job. And then chiropractor Greg Kempf here with the Browns was not only a great chiropractor, but a friend of mine. The last treasured relationship I want to bring up is a guy that I looked up most to in my time here in Cleveland. I call him the president of the Has Been Group. It's Mr. Doug Deacon right there in the back where he belongs. You're a great friend, Doug. The game's given me memories to cherish, like beating Pittsburgh in '99 at Three Rivers Stadium. I still swear they opened the center field wall to make the wind blow stronger in our face. That was my first professional game winner, and it didn't matter. We beat the Steelers, and that's all that did matter. Making the playoffs after the '02 season and see the city come alive for the first time as a Brown. The Blizzard Bowl, the Baltimore game that I mentioned earlier. Passing Lou Groza on the all-time field goal list. Mr. Groza is the Cleveland Browns, and to be anywhere on a list with his name on it is the biggest honor you could have as a Brown. The entire 2012 season, my last one as a Brown, is a perfect example of the power of the Cleveland fan base. You guys remember that we're here. The crowd, the fans came behind me, supported me, made that Pro Bowl push. But even beyond that, every time I took the field, I could feel their confidence they had in me, probably more than I had in myself. And I was determined that I wouldn't let them down, and that was the best season I ever had. So that's a perfect example of the power of the Cleveland fans. The 2013 playoff run with San Francisco was truly special. We made the NFC Championship game. I got to experience that. I got to make some kicks in that playoff run that helped our team move forward, and I'm very grateful for that. Was fortunate enough to be named the MVP of 2 teams, and for a kicker, I consider that truly an honor. Being a team captain for 3 different organizations over the last 15 years, once again, being that kid that just wanted to play football, not kick, that means a great deal. So in conclusion, now's the time to walk away. I do so contently and full of gratitude. I've simply given all I know to give to this great game that I've always wanted to play. While there are some things I wished had gone differently, I have no regrets. I'm back home here today in Cleveland, Ohio, to announce that I'm retiring from the National Football League. And I'm proudly doing so as a member of my beloved Cleveland Browns. Thank you.
We'll open it up for questions.
What did you want to be, Phil? Quarterback, running, but I know you were a lineman, or I think you were.
Anything but kicker. My dad was a college quarterback, so obviously, like most little boys, that was the dream. But I just loved everything about the game. What other sport do you have such a wide variety of skill sets that all have to come together to get the job done? So it really didn't matter to me what it was. And it took me a while to embrace the skill set I had been given. But I made the decision just because that was my skill set, I was still going to approach the game as a player, and I hope I've proven that.
Kick you left in you if needed in December or January.
You know, people have asked me that. I think I'm the Toby Keith song. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. I think I could probably put a game or two, maybe even more together, and solid performances where I struggle with knowing is if I could put 16 together. And this game requires your all in all. And I got to the point where I just questioned whether I had that anymore. And so I'd rather walk away while people want me than walk away when people want me out the door. And so that's why I'm doing it now.
Is there coincidence in you coming to this decision right now? There's been talk of your name coming back up. Did you just want to put that to rest and not let that linger?
So when I left last season in Arizona on injured reserve, I had a pretty good feeling I was done. And I wanted to give it some time to see if anything changed. And the 7 or 8 months since then, nothing has really changed my mind that I'm done. So with regards to the timing, I wanted to get this done before the football season got going, and I also needed to just close the book for me so I can start moving forward, because I have wrestled with it all off season.
Did you talk to like Joe Thomas about going through something like this and going out at a certain time?
I didn't talk to Joe specifically, but I did go back and watch his retirement press conference. I wanted to get a feel for what it was like. But I have talked to a lot of people who've gone through this, and they all said take a year, don't commit to anything big in that first year, and transition to normal civilian life, as I call it, and then move from there. So having this today will allow me to move forward and really start thinking about what's next.
Do you have an idea in your mind after that year of transition, what retirement will look like?
Ask me in about 6 months, and I might have an answer.
Well, Dad, are you on Friday nights?
Oh, man, my wife could probably answer that better. You know, she's the experienced sit in the stands and watch football person in this marriage. I'm not. So I get pretty high-strung and uptight, and obviously when you have a young one like Bo played as a freshman last year. That was incredible. And then Drew's a quarterback, so that whole quarterback deal is a monster. So, you know, everyone in the stands has a comment and has an opinion that they're not afraid to share. So I just have to go sit in the top row by myself and hope I don't mouth off before the game's over.
Inviting Earl Little today?
Oh, man. Good old Earl. Earl was a great player.
Was that really true, though, that he dragged you out there for that field goal?
Yeah, I guess I can now finally tell the truth. So, you know, y'all see it. We work 2-minute drills all the time and situational football, and obviously that was something I prided myself in. And I knew in that Pittsburgh game in '99, we're game-winning drive, we have a timeout. So we ran a play on, I think it was second down, around 25 seconds left on the clock. We get tackled in bounds short of first down territory. Clock's still running. Well, I'm over still in my net getting one last kick, because what do you do in that situation? You run it down to 4 seconds, you call timeout, you go out and win the game. So I'm not even looking what's going on in the field, and apparently the decision was made not to call a timeout but to yell field goal. So not only are we trying a game-winning field goal in Three Rivers Stadium where they have center field wide open, now we're going to do it in a hurry-up situation when we could have at least even downed it and had time to go out there under normal timing. So Earl did come running over because I was unaware of the field goal call, and y'all can go back and watch the tape. I'm sprinting on the field, buckling my chin strap, looking at the clock, and we snapped it with 1 second left.
It's a playoff game, Phil. You know, it's quite an experience and quite a game. Can you run through what you remember about that game, including the end of it when there was the drive?
Talking about 03 in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, January 03.
Incredible game. Classic Pittsburgh-Cleveland game. Horrible weather, bad field, in Pittsburgh, the whole thing. It was a great venue. I mean, it was awesome. Back and forth game. Kelly Holcomb went off. I think he threw for 400-something yards in horrible weather, which was amazing. We had a big lead. I think we got a little too comfortable with that lead, and before you know it, the lead's gone. And we're driving right at the end, and we throw a ball to Andre King in field goal range, who's desperately trying to dive out of bounds and was unable to do so, and the clock ran out. And I can remember standing there thinking, wow, and, you know, I mean, my first playoff game, I'm going to get a chance to beat Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh. I can't wait for this, but we just came up a little short.
The kick would have been...
It would have been over 45, but it didn't matter. I was going to make it.
Greg Joseph and Austin Seibert, the two kids here, about kicking in half a foot of snow?
I didn't get to the snow part yet. Let's start with the basics. But you know, those guys are pros, and so it's fun to talk to fellow pros. And I was just able to share a few things I've learned through the years, and some routine and some habit type things, how to approach the game, and they'll figure the rest out on their own. But it was a nice conversation, and I'm excited to see those guys.
The diary?
I do. Might be on eBay soon.
Best moments happen in practice. We don't get to see everything, but some of your PR moments, do you remember the longest kick you ever nailed?
Man, I don't know exactly the longest one, but I can, that third field out there, I think they still do it maybe in the season. They split it up into two fields that run same direction as the two main ones. Well, whenever we would kick on those, the goalposts were facing the other way. And so it would add 4 yards to every field goal. And it used to drive me nuts when my friends here would be watching practice and it would be a 57-yard field goal that I'd make, but they wouldn't add the 4 yards. I'm like, can I get a 61 in the paper, please? I mean, they used to, I almost wanted to scream, add 4, but, and then the other one, it would be when we'd practice on those little skinny goalposts, and there'd be referees under them, and I'd hit one just right outside the upright, which obviously would be good in a normal situation, but those referees would do this, and the whole crowd would, So those are some fun memories now that I'm not living through them.
What message would you have for this current Browns team if you had a chance to address these players about just how special it is to play here for these fans?
They have a unique opportunity to be in the NFL, first of all. But greater than that, to be here in Cleveland at this time with the job the organization has done, putting a team like this together, with all the excitement surrounding the team. I mean, they can play a long time in this league and not experience something like they're about to experience. So I would tell them to treasure every moment and work their brains out to make sure they're ready to do their job each and every time they go out there.
Well, you spend so much time here. What do you think about all the excitement going on right now heading into the season?
I'm jealous. There were a lot of years where it wasn't like this here. But I'm excited for the city. I'm excited for the Browns organization. I'm just as excited. I mean, I'm going to cheer for the Browns like crazy. But I think the fans are due. I think it's great for them to have the opportunity to be excited, a genuine excitement, not just a draft day excitement, but actually getting to football season and having high expectations and hopes. And I was able to speak with a few of the players today, and I said, just hold on to your hats. If you handle business, you have no idea how incredible this place is going to be. So it's going to be fun to watch, and I know Browns fans are ready.
What were you doing when the Cavs won the championship?
I was in a little weird spot because I was playing with the Niners at the time, and so Golden State, so I couldn't, I found myself a couple times about to hit tweet, I love you, Cleveland, congrats, but then I would have gotten run out of my place of employment, so I had to keep it quiet, but quietly I was thrilled.
In the past, you chuckled at the "we're going to start with you" story. It obviously affected you your whole career. Could you retell that?
That one sentence, I think, shaped my mentality more than any other. Some coaches would say that was the point of it all. I would say it was mainly an obstacle. But to go undrafted when I expected to be, I didn't get my big entrance into the league. And so then I went to Oakland, got cut, went to New England, spent an entire season on the practice squad there. I mean, good learning experience, but not a whole lot of fun. Finally make it here to Cleveland, had to beat out 3 other guys. It's final cut day, don't know if I'm the guy or not. And I see the other guys leaving the building, so I was like, wow, here's my moment I've been waiting on since not getting drafted. And Coach Palmer comes walking down the hallway and literally just says, we're going to start out with you. And whatever he meant by that, I'm not exactly sure, but the way I took it was I'm one kick away from losing my job. And I don't know that I ever shook that my entire career 21 years later. I'd miss one kick, and I would think, that's it. I'm out of a job.
The question is, who are the other 3?
Okay, Danny Kite, Jose Cortez, and Chris Bonio. Chris is now a kicking consultant for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's interesting.
In any way, it worked?
What I was saying is some coaches, would say that was the whole reason I did it. I would argue it got in the way of what I wanted to do. But, I mean, when you're an undrafted kid coming in this league, it doesn't matter what your path is like. You got to make the best of it. And so that was something that happened. I had to deal with it. And I think I made the most of it.
Chris Palmer about that, if you ever see him?
You know, he was a consultant in San Francisco when I was there, and I used to mess with him. And he, of course, now you know, everything's hunky-dory and chuckles and all that. I'm like, well, you weren't this happy back then. I mean, so we're all good, and it's water under the bridge now.
You said about the 2012 season in your speech about the fans having that belief in you and taking you to greater heights. Did you realize it while it was happening, or did that take you a while?
I can remember specifically taking the field, like jogging from the sideline to the spot of the kick, and like hearing this anticipation from the crowd. And I mean, how could you not rise to the occasion in that moment? So yes, I did feel it. I did appreciate it, and that was one of the incredibly difficult reasons I didn't want to leave. It was just, I mean, why would you want to leave something like that? I mean, it took me 15 or however many years it took me to build that up. It's tough to turn around and leave that, but that's the way this league works. And I was fortunate I was able to kind of do the same thing on a smaller scale in San Francisco. And I took a great deal of satisfaction in knowing that I was able to fool two fan bases into thinking I was halfway decent.
Good reason why they let you go after the Pro Bowl season?
It really doesn't even matter. Things were happening so fast, and Neil did such a great job during all that. He knew what I was going through personally, but he handled the business side of it. And before I knew it, I was a San Francisco 49er, a team that had just come off a Super Bowl appearance, was planning on another one. So I fell into a really good situation, and I knew getting on a team like that, I better once again do my job and put the work in required to be a dependable player, so that whenever it's time to make a kick, they had a guy that could do it.
Get those injections now that you're done playing?
Now that I'm done, no, those injections were during the season. Then I was able to take an oral medication in the off season. So now I just have to do that.
Any favorite fakes? Any fake field goals? Any memories that you?
Yeah, I love the touchdown. My kids don't believe that I was able to do that, but I told them that was pre-them. So life was simple and not as much adversity, and I could run. But yeah, that celebration with Chris was the highlight of that year. And I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but you know, I got fined by the NFL for that celebration, $5,000, which is a tax write-off, right, Neil? NFL fines. So I went through that whole process. Well, 2 days later, I walk into my locker, and there's an envelope with $5,000 cash in my locker, and I think Mr. Lerner took care of me. So he had my loyalty after that.
What do you think about this quarterback from Oklahoma?
He's not bad. I told him today, I said, Sam Ellinger says hello. So no, it's all good. I mean, for a guy to walk on two different universities, I mean, I'm going through a high school kid getting recruited, and it's a tough environment. And for a kid to go in at that position, beat out all the scholarship quarterbacks, and not only do it once but do it twice at two different schools, it's super impressive. And it didn't surprise me a bit that he stepped right in and didn't give a crap about the history here. He just went and made his own history, and the team followed, and here we are right now.
We good? All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
We're going to take, you guys